Okay.
So let's see. It might look at a weird angle.
It's fine. It's fine. It's good.
Okay. I'm gonna. It's bad as we're recording this before I trim. I'm about to fucking give myself a haircut. But
It's good. It's good. I mean, like the whiter your beard, the more credibility you have.
okay, so the whiter my beard, the more credibility I have. So I shouldn't trim up before all the meetings I have today. I have tons of meetings starting in about 2.5 hours, which sucks. Until midnight, dude. It's gonna be stupid. Anyway, back to here. So the purpose of our conversation today is I want to show you how to start. Well, I want to I mean, you know how to do it. I want to demonstrate how the progress I've gotten on packaging Vanilla, its dependencies, so we can talk to the Eternity blockchain from Erlang, packaging Cowboy and its dependencies, so that we can very easily start a web server project and do all that from the ZX build tool that works for Erlang. So ZX, for people who are watching who don't know this, ZX is basically like it's a package management system and a build system and a dependency puller and builder and launcher for Erlang projects. So it's kind of like npm but not stupid and not a big security hole. It's like Erlang. It's like Erlang's npm, but it doesn't suck.
I was gonna say maybe we should explain the problem with npm, but I don't think there's a huge crossover between the target audience here and people who don't see obvious security problems with npm. So
right, yeah, the people that don't know about that, like if people just kind of start understanding the differences, if they used npm a lot in the past and they haven't thought about what's wrong with it, and they use ZX and they think about it carefully, I think it'll become kind of apparent what some of the issues are.
I mean, just briefly, like the problems with npm are that like anytime that you're loading random code from sort of foreign sources where you don't really know kind of how do you phrase this? You've got a lot of untrusted code that is running in a trusted context.
Yes, and you have not just untrusted code, you have code that's impossible to audit and has been packaged a variety of different ways, many of them minimized, so you can't really pull them apart and read them and understand what they do. And they do automatic dependency resolution and updates, which can exist within packages. So you can have this cascading effect of subtle every time you run a project, every time you run a program, you don't necessarily know if you're getting automatic updates. So you're not sure if you're running the same code as you just did 5 minutes ago.
Right.
And that's the source of, that's an attack vector of its own. Anyway.
And this isn't hypothetical. This happens like once a week.
Yes, this is a very common attack, especially in the blockchain world right now. So that's pretty bad. If you're doing JavaScript stuff, you need to or TypeScript or whatever, you need to vendor those things out and be running them locally, which you've produced a solution for, which we should do another video on that.
Yes.
Once you kind of like the shape of it.
So
the Jex tool, being able to do TypeScript as package bundles is really nice.
Yeah. And what Jex is, the whole idea there is just like, I just took ZX but switched the Z to a J, and the whole idea there is just like, okay, instead of like listing your dependencies, instead of this idea of we're going to run JavaScript on the server, which is not a very good idea. Instead, we're going to just assume we're running JavaScript only in the context of a browser, and we're going to kind of build everything around that. And the whole idea there is that the build target, instead of being like an NPM package or bundle or whatever, it's just going to be a tarball, and you should just be able to drop the tarball on your server and script src whatever, and it just works. And you don't have to, right. And there's no like automatic, it doesn't fire all the missiles in the background.
Right. Yeah, which is, that approach worked out so well for us doing Agora.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, we should do another demonstration video of that. And Jex will be available through ZX once we've kind of put a bow on a version 1.0 of it that just does the basic bundling. And that'll be up. So that said, so prerequisites. we're making the assumption that you are on a Unixy system. This does work on Windows, but the developing on Windows is like its own mission.
Yeah.
To be polite. And so we're going to assume that you're developing on a Unix type system like Linux or Mac, or OS 10 or, BSD or something that's not horrible. And,
are there still people who use Solaris? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Let's keep
there's
going.
open Solaris, but anyway, yeah, I haven't seen that in a while. But anyway, so the assumption is that you're on a Unix type system, and if you do write an Erlang program on a Unix system and you do package it up with ZX, it will run from ZX, or Vapor's the GUI thing for ZX. It will run on Windows, but developing sucks on Windows, so we're going to do it here. So anyway, we're assuming that you've got Erlang available in context, some recent Erlang, so from maybe R21 and later. So we have R25 in context right now, and we're going to go to the XAMPP site, ZX XAMPP site. We're going to go to quick start. We're going to go to install thingy, and then I'm just going to cheat and do this. So this, of course, implies that you have wget, but whatever. So it's quietly doing this. It's pulling the blob. So it pulled 12.7. The current version is 13.8, and we'll see that pull and recompile here. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, 30.2. So that's where we're at. Yep. So, okay. So now I can do like a command to list existing packages in this realm. Okay, so OTPR has these packages available. We see one of them is cowboy. So what we're going to do is ZX has had a feature added to it now where I can do create project. And I can pick a cowboy-based web service now. So I'm going to select type 2. Project name is going to be, whatever. County. Whoa. A county thingy. County. Count will be our prefix for things. This can be in my name. This keyboard layout's killing me. It's like one of the only it's the only computer we have that's got like an English layout. It's driving me nuts. Project description, a thing that counts hits. Now, the reason I'm saying a thing that counts hits is that's what the default project does, just to prove that you can actually, or to demonstrate the template of this project just has a single stateful process that has a counter, and we'll see that in a second. No project repo. Yeah, okay. So we're going to go to county, and if we start this, I'm going to use ZXH so that I can get the head on this.
Head means that it also opens the shell.
Yeah, head is the shell, right? So you'll get these things here, these warnings, the first time you build Cowboy, because it builds Ranch after.
Oh, I see.
So some of the behaviors are not designed until, or some of the behaviors are not defined until like later in the build.
So, I mean, well, go ahead.
This module, just by the way, takes a little bit to build, and nothing's wrong. It's just got tons of statically defined binaries.
I see.
It's like every default header that's like ever existed in HTTP land.
So
it's like ready to be handled.
Backing up, so the whole, I guess if the way I'm thinking about this is that like Erlang is, we were talking about how you're getting these warnings because it's referencing a behavior that isn't defined, and the whole idea there is that everything in Erlang is very dynamic, and so that's a warning, not an error. And the whole idea with ZX
Right.
is that, like, okay, we have this very dynamic system. For the vast majority of cases, we're running this on, you know, a Linux server. If you're running this on, you know, telecom switches out in the middle of the ocean or something, then that's a different problem. But the whole idea with ZX is like, we have a dynamic system running on a sane environment. Why don't we just make that as an assumption?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So the idea being that we've got this super flexible system, we're running on full-blown servers, let's use that flexibility to our advantage. The existing tooling, ZX already exists, but the traditional tooling for Erlang is just based on this assumption of releases, which is a bundled, deployable single blob that's pre-built. And the idea is that you would be putting that like on a telecom switch that's out somewhere that you can't touch for a long time. And a lot of the Erlang design principles kind of revolve around that. So this is bringing us back towards the more modern kind of concept of development, which is to pull dApps and launch. The first time I launched this project, it built all the dependencies for itself, right? So if I stop this right now, just for example, if I run it again, none of that build happens twice because it's all cached. Now, if I change the version of Erlang, it will happen. It'll get rebuilt. Anyway, so what has happened here is this has started the example project, the example cowboy project on port 8080 already. And all it does is prints a text string. It's not even proper HTML to keep it simple in the code. And all it does is it counts hits. So if I F5 this, that's all it does, right? Nothing crazy about this, but what it does is it lets you know that you've got a stateful process. And if we want to look at how that works, let me get this big again. Is that big enough?
Second. That's acceptable.
Okay. If we look at the source that's been generated here, this is the interesting part, which is the start normal, start to, for the application behavior. It starts Sassel, which isn't particularly talkative here. It gets the cowboy and things the cowboy depends on, ranch and cowlib started. Then it says it started. And this is if you're familiar with cowboy already, which probably a lot of people watching this are, it's like the most common web server in Erlang right now. I think it beats out Yaws at this point pretty soundly. The route, the root, the root of the website is going to call the count top module, and count top has an init function that is the cowboy HTTP handler behavior. Compile the routes, put it into the dispatch, and then start the listener. If we look at count top, this is the entire thing. It gets the request and the state, which is actually just an empty list. There's no state for this right now. Hits. It tries to read the hits. If there's no hits, then we know it's the first one. And then we save the next hit increment. Then we return a 200, which is it. Like, we just return the cowboy reply. That's it. There's nothing.
So, and the body.
Zero magic.
The body. Okay, yeah. So that body, hello world, we've had however many hits so far. That's exactly what was shown in that.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And the way that so the count state is just called state, like what a project prefix state. This is just a stateful process template that's a gen server. You're going to want something. Look at the functions exported: save and read. It saves the key value and it can read back the value. That's all it does. There's nothing special here at all.
Okay.
This is so that if you're starting a brand new web project and you already understand Cowboy, which is why you would have chosen to use this in the first place, it gives you one stateful template process, a supervisor to start that process, and the simplest possible web handler that just returns a text string that's how many hits you got. So you can add to that whatever you want. And that's the whole point of this, is just to give you a place to get started quickly. You know what part of the code to jump into to start making this your thing. So if we go to top here, so we've gotten this far now, right? We've already got a web server running.
Okay.
Okay, so this web server is already running. And let's say that I want to, let me get over here real quick. I'm going to start an Eternity node in my network right now.
Okay. So I'm not really sure what the target audience for this is. I think we have to make as a hard constraint that they're familiar with Erlang, because if you don't have basic familiarity with Erlang, none of this is going to make any sense. So okay,
yeah,
but
and if you're searching for Erlang on the internet, then to find this in the first place, then
okay. And then, so Eternity is a cryptocurrency that we both work at. And he's starting up a node over on his other machine.
Yeah, so I've got a testnet node running in this network. And what I'm going to do now is show you how this integrates with the Vanillae library.
Okay.
So now let's say that I want to know, ZX describe. If I'm approaching this as a developer, I know there's a library called Vanillae. I know how it's spelled, and I want the description of it from ZX, because I know this exists in the ZX world. So, okay, this is it. Now, ZX, I know the version number, right?
Mm-hmm.
ZX list deps. You have to fully qualify this because, dependency definitions are really specific. So, list deps, OTPR, Vanilla. Okay, so that's exactly the dependencies that Vanilla's got. So if I do set, hang on, I'm going to cheat. 4f in ZX list deps, OTPR, oh, okay. Okay. Ooh.
I think you need semicolon do semicolon.
Yeah, that was dumb. Okay, there we go. So that was me screwing that up. My token was in the wrong spot. Anyway, so what we're doing is we're looping through these things and having them ZX set depth for that. Now, what we didn't get out of that was Vanillae itself, right?
And these are adding these as deps to the current project.
Correct.
Okay. I think there's an npm command for that, but I don't use npm enough, unfortunately.
Right. So if we do list deps with no argument, it'll pull the local.
Okay.
The local projects thing. So these are all the deps that are defined right now. And of course, this is just in the Zomp meta, right?
Okay.
It's uglier to read in here than doing this. Anyway, so these are the dependencies that we've got defined. Now, this stuff has not been pulled and built yet because we haven't run this project yet. First invocation is requisition and build, right? So we know, because I know how Vanillae works, I'm going to go over here into.
Should probably mention very briefly what Vanillae is. Vanillae is how do we explain Vanillae? Vanillae is basically a library, an Erlang library that you wrote that smooths over a lot of rough edges of trying to talk to the Eternity network from within an Erlang application.
Yes. So this is basically a language binding for the Eternity blockchain.
Yes.
And it's called Vanillae because it's the simplest one. It just talks to the node endpoints and translates things back into internal Erlang objects for you without crazy. So we're going to start Vanillae. It's a stateful process because it has to remember what its endpoint nodes that it's supposed to connect to are. So we're going to set those nodes here in the startup cycle for this web server. So this web server starts out. It's going to start Sassel, start cowboy and its dependencies. Then it's going to start Vanillae, and then we're going to set AE nodes. Whoa! I don't have caps lock on. That was neat. Okay. Okay, and it's on 3013, I think is the listening port. Okay, and now I'm going to go back to that count top. So I don't know, it just keeps happening. And we're going to get an extra bit of data to put in here. So we'll just check like the status. We'll check the blockchain status. And we'll do a text version of it. Actually, okay, I'm going to add ZJ to this because it's easy. Encode. What ZJ is a JSON, a simple JSON encoder decoder. And it will give us a JSON string.
Is there such a thing?
Of what the status is?
Is there such a thing as a simple JSON? You know what? That's a distraction. But
yeah, but it's a dangerous question all of its own.
Yes.
Now, one nice thing about this is we're actually allowed to do IO lists.
Oh, that's nice.
We don't have to do binaries, so we can actually send IO lists to Cowboy. It'll Unicode it'll do the same thing that my web servers do. They flatten out Unicode and push it. So we're gonna do text status, and then I'm gonna add another. Let's do IOLib format. Let's pretty format. Layouts.
Do you want tilde question mark or tilde quote? You mean?
Oh, whoops. No, I didn't mean to do two of those. Thank you. And then we'll just do another line ending there. Okay. So I think I didn't do any stupid typos there. I am going to need to describe it. I need to list versions. Let's see. 1 point. Okay.
Dep.
Set derp. Derping while I'm typing here. This keyboard's killing me. Anyway, okay, so now we've got ZJ added. So when I run this, again, assuming no typos, this should. Oh, it's got a lot to pull this time.
Oh, I'm surprised how fast Oh, wait, Blake is going to take forever. Oh, wow, that was fast.
No, it's quick now. Yeah, this is the entire infer types.
Oof. Yeah, I can imagine the type inference code. That's going to be a lot.
Because it's all the 100-pound heads at Quivik, you know. So,
I just like. Okay, you know what? That's a distraction. Never mind.
Anyway, so what we're going to do now is we're going to.
You need to restart
this page. I did. Where it went. Okay. Okay. See, we talked to the blockchain already, and this is the prettier because we have a pretty printer for Erlang form. This is actually what comes back. This is the internal Erlang object that comes back from Vanilla, and this is how it gets serialized to JSON from ZJ.
Right.
So we can see what the difficulty is, the current key block hash, the network that we're on UAT, right? Node revision, blah blah blah. Public, pure public key for this node. All the little things that we want to know about this. Top block height is that. And if we hit this again, if we keep doing this, we're going to get a different key block hash because every 3 minutes or so, roughly, a new key block comes out on this blockchain. You can still get different block heights though because of microblocks. But anyway, the whole point in demonstrating this is that's about 1 or 2 minutes of work if you just do that to go from initialize install ZX, let it build itself, start a Cowboy project using the ZX template, and then add Eternity to it. If you have an Eternity node running in your network, this gets you running right away.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes about a minute.
Right.
All told.
And with Vanilla,
get,
it's fairly easy to make pretty non-trivial queries to the blockchain, right?
Yeah. So like if we go to like Agora, well, actually, wait, we need to go to testnet because we're on testnet. None of the keys here are going to match anything. Hey, look, Moonspeak. Okay, ingots. If we want to look at like the sample sale object, for example, and I want to look up this contract ID. Now we're at I ran this with the head, right? So I use the XH instead of ZX. I can actually do this contract lookup, and we should get details of that thing. And because all contracts are also accounts. Mm-hmm. If I wanted to check like the balance of that, for example, I can change the form of this and check the account information too. You get both parts of this.
Nice.
From a vanilla query. So this is if you're writing code that's supposed to be a backend for a blockchain connected service, this is how you do it, and it's really freaking easy to get started. So this video, I want to send this video to Async Mind because he's trying to do this exact thing.
Okay.
And he has gone through the when Vanilla was like deep in development and it had remember the cancer script? He did the cancer script method for getting it working, and he's like, what's the easier way? And I'm like, well, I've got something, but it's not ready until this weekend. I got it all cleaned up.
Nice.
And this is what I wanted to show you is this is the end product of my weekend of scrambling around to get all this stuff fixed up well enough that it's usable.